welcome back to another episode of Just Jordan Things. Today we're going to be talking about book reviews. And those of you that know me know I read a lot of books. We're going to dive into different books in this series so that you guys can get an insight into what I got from these books and if you want to read them yourself. And of course, Dozer's going to help. So let's jump right in. The book we're going to be looking at today is called Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. This is the book that had that click moment for me. And it really jump-started my deep dive into emotional intelligence research and the pathway into understanding how self-help was going to work for me. The thing I will say about this book is there's some parts that didn't really resonate with me, which is perfectly fine. Not every single book you read is going to resonate all the way from start to finish most of the time. But it is important to continue pursuing the understanding of what the book is trying to convey. So in this book, it talks a lot about the ego and the pain body. Those are the two things that I want you to take away from this book. Understanding how your ego contributes to your daily actions and how your pain body derives your ego and everything that we're doing. A lot of times we can get caught up in if you've ever been caught up in those overwhelming feelings of not understanding why something's happening to you, or why you keep making the same mistakes or going back to the same people that hurt you. You know you want to do better, you know you can do better, but eventually you just give in and feel like you can't do what you know you need to. Why is that? Why does that keep happening? I'm sure there are hundreds of you out there with ex-boyfriends or girlfriends that you kept going back to. You wanted to give them another chance. You felt like it was going to change this time. But what's the root cause of why we continue to go back each time? That's where the pain body comes in. And Eckhart Tolle really exemplifies the pattern of behavior that we have to feed the pain body. Eckhart goes into explaining how thinking is involuntary for the most of the time for us. It's like blood circulation. We don't have control over a lot of the process. It just happens and it hits us and we act upon it. Recognizing that process is happening is the first step of being able to channel it and control it. But the second part of that is understanding how you're protecting yourself and your ego. As humans, it is natural for us to want to protect the sanctity of what we believe and feel safe. Here are some examples directly from the book. What the ego calls love is possessiveness and addictive clinging that can turn into hate within a second. Anticipation about an upcoming event, which is the ego's overvaluation of future, easily turns into the opposite, letdown or disappointment. When the event is over or doesn't fulfill the ego's expectations, praise and recognition make you feel alive and happy one day. Being criticized or ignored make you feel dejected and unhappy the next. The pleasure of a wild party turns into bleakness and a hangover the next morning. There is not good without bad, no highs without lows. How does that connect to the pain body, though? The pain body is a semi-autonomous energy form that lives within most human beings, an entity made up of emotion. It is its own primitive intelligence, not unlike a cunning animal, and its intelligence is directed primarily at survival. Like all life forms, it periodically needs to feed, to take in new energy. And the food it requires to replenish itself consists of energy that is compatible with its own, which is to say, energy that vibrates at a similar frequency. Any emotionally painful experience can be used as food for the pain body. That's why it thrives on negative thinking as well as drama in relationships. The pain body is addicted to unhappiness. Now, thinking about that, we can start to tie in why some of those behaviors that we try to break continue to happen, regardless of telling ourselves we shouldn't or don't want to. This was my breakthrough aha moment after reading this exact piece of why I kept going back to people that hurt me time and time again. I sought after the behaviors in people that would result in that hurt. I wasn't doing it consciously. I was attracted to them because there was this part of me that thought that that's what I wanted. It's what kept me in the job that I thought was so good for me and I thought was the best thing possible. And it's what kept me in toxic friend groups where I kept feeling like I had to maintain these unhealthy, unbalanced relationships with people. This can present itself as a deep, heavy sadness or a very intense anger. I would have periods of time where I would sit down and be so sad about not being good enough, or be so fired up that I could do better. I was going to prove them wrong. I was going to insert XYZ action here, and double down on what I was doing previously to the same people that got the unhappy result in the first place. It goes on to talk about how as much as you can't stop your negative thoughts happening, you also don't want them to, in a way. And the reason for this is explained by the pain body taking over and wanting to feed off of that negative energy. All right, that's great. Now we understand why all of these things are happening. How do we change it? How do we fix it? How do we grow past being controlled by our negative emotions? I'm going to tell you right now, it is not simple, nor easy, nor quick. I apologize. I know it's very difficult, but if it were any of those things, everyone would already be doing it. But there is hope, and there are people that have done it that want to guide you along the pathway. Trust me, if you met me 3 years ago, I was a completely different person. You would not recognize me. Most of the people in my life now would not recognize me because I was in this constant pain state, chronically stressed, living in high cortisol levels. It was all bad all the time. The first step of understanding how to overcome this is understanding that you're responsible for your actions regardless of why things happened, regardless of this terrible pain body that, is driving everything and your thoughts. You are responsible for everything you do. You are the only person that can control your actions. You may not be able to control your thoughts, how you think, and what pops up into your brain, but you can control what you do about them. And that is the most important first step. You are in control. Everything is a choice, and that is where things get difficult. It is a choice to set boundaries with someone. Sometimes it's even scary. It is a choice to stay at the job that you're unhappy at, or with a partner you're unhappy with. It's a choice to not voice your unhappiness with your partner, to not try to make a situation better. Sometimes the choice is not easy to make, and sometimes it doesn't matter if we make the choice or don't make the choice. But recognizing that everything you do is your choice is where we begin. Now, I want to stop here for a second and recognize that feeling unhappy or feeling angry or feeling overwhelmed are not indicative of being wrong in something. Those are all natural emotions that will continue to come up, and you will continue to feel them, and they shouldn't go away. We have a life full of ups and downs, and you have to have the ups to have the downs, and you have to have the downs to have the ups. That being said, how you recognize and regulate your nervous system when you are experiencing those intense emotions, that is what changes. Emotions are your body telling you something, not an indicator of something bad. They shouldn't control what you do, but they should inform what your needs are. And listening to them is very difficult. Understanding your emotions is essentially learning an entire different language, not with words, but with feelings, and it can be very complex. So give yourself grace while you're learning, and understand you're not always going to get it right, but at least you're trying. I personally think that this kind of narrative goes hand in hand with what we talk about a lot about being the victim mindset. I used to play the victim all the time. Everything turned into that ego mindset of why me? Why did they do this to me? They're attacking me. And that was my prevailing thought before anything else. Shifting that to understanding that people are selfish intrinsically. All of us think about ourselves first, and there are very few people that actually do things vindictively to attack or hurt other people. Yes, they are out there. I'm not saying they're not, but the majority of the time, it's probably a misunderstanding or a mistake. So where does that lead with the victim mindset? The victim mindset is when you discover yourself or recognize that you are starting to get into a woe is me. You're starting to go down that rabbit hole of everything is terrible, everyone hates me, this is all my fault, and trying to turn the tables. It's rather manipulative if you look at it. It's a survival tactic to make sure that you're maintaining whatever normalcy you currently have. So this is your challenge. The next time you recognize those thoughts, you can journal about them, remember them, write them down. reflect on them. Think about an alternative to the narrative that you're presenting yourself. This is going to be the first step in overcoming and achieving a different type of control over your actions. And it doesn't have to be in the moment. It can be something that happened yesterday or last week. If there's a conversation that you recognize that already came to mind or a situation, that's it. That's the one. Don't avoid it. It can be as small as something inconveniencing you at the grocery store and you getting upset about it, to something as big as your partner doing something that you often makes you incredibly mad or sad. What actions did you take within there that could have been different? How did we get to that scenario in the first place? Some things are wildly out of our control. We understand that. But everything that we do is within our control. I choose to go to a specific grocery store and choose to go at this specific time and chose to get these amount of things in my cart, chose this aisle that I walked in, chose to pay with this specific credit card. I chose this bank account. I'm choosing to stay with this bank account. The list is exhaustive. But once you start recognizing and being able to establish that pattern of saying, I choose, then you will start the breakthrough. Then the next step from there is taking those I can't statements into I choose not to. Let's take it really deep, really fast with intrusive thoughts, because I struggle with a lot of intrusive thoughts, some really dark intrusive thoughts, and I know a lot of people do. They are not you. Let's state that for the record. But I choose not to do the things my intrusive thoughts say. I chose to read this book and chose not to throw it away when it made me upset and confront some of the things that I was originally irritated about when I read them. Instead of coming to my partner saying, I can't open this jar, I could say, I choose not to identify another opportunity for me to be resourceful. I could open the jar if I wanted to, but it would take extra effort and maybe a different tool that I would have to go find. And it's too much energy for me to do that. So I use the I can't open this jar as the failsafe. I hope you enjoyed this book review, and if you would like to go get this book, you can find it probably at your local bookstore or on Amazon. I have a link below. And if this was helpful for you and you want more books for me to review, please leave a comment and follow along this journey of introspection. These are some of the books that we're going to be doing next. If any piece of this resonated with you or you feel like it inspired you to pick up a book, then leave a comment and join the community of people that we're building to support each other. And as always, like and subscribe to my videos if you enjoy them. I'll see you next time.